Welcome to the newest video that I'm doing on the filtration system that I've chosen for the tank. And the primary filtration that I have chosen is a protein skimmer in combination with a carbon reactor. And so what I have here is the protein skimmer. It is the Reef Octopus BL2000. It has a rating of 500 gallons per hour. So it's moving an awful lot of water around the tank. The purpose of the protein filter or skimmer is to remove all of the harmful waste and other products that create problems in terms of the chemistry of the tank. Now, I'm using RODI water, so it's pure water, and I'm mixing my own salt. So the only thing in the tank at the moment would be my live rock and my sand. So no fish creating any waste or anything like that. And let me tell you what, the Reef Octopus is quite a piece of equipment in the sense that I've had nothing in the tank other than I've described. I've had the Reef Octopus running for about a week, and I have yet to empty the collection so that I could show you that in this video. And let me tell you, and I'll give you a closer view in just a moment, it is absolutely muddy inside there. So what it is pulling out is unseen. To me, the water was absolutely clear, but not to this device. It finds all of those harmful elements, and it literally does just pull them out, and it puts them right here in this collection. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a close-up of the Reef Octopus in a minute. I can tell you that the Reef Octopus was pretty easy to set up, and pretty reasonably priced. And the other piece of this is that in terms of getting it started, that was the only place I had a little bit of a hiccup. I basically just set the unit up, plugged it in, and let it run. And for about 3 hours, all I was getting were these very small, what I would call champagne bubbles. So no foam. I don't know if you can see that from here, but this is really foaming up quite a bit. No foam whatsoever. So I tried bleeding the lines, trying to get all the air out of the lines. Didn't make any difference. Finally, what I decided to do was just turn the unit off after about 3 or 4 hours. And when I did that, I heard the water pressure bubble come right out of the Reef Octopus. I thought, man, that must mean that all of the water or air is out of that line. So I turned it right back on at that point, and sure enough, all of the foam that I expected to see finally happened. And so if you're going to set one of these up from scratch, go ahead, bleed the line a little bit, turn the unit off after a few minutes of operation, and then turn it back on again. And my guess would be that you're going to get all this beautiful foam that really is the key part to making this particular unit work. So I'm going to give you a close-up of the Reef Octopus itself in terms of how it's set up here and running, and then we're going to skip down to the carbon reactor, which I have underneath of the tank, hidden out of sight. So let's take a closer look at the collection and the Reef Octopus in operation. Okay, so here we are back, and from this angle you should get a good look at the foam that is happening down on the bottom, but take a look at that collection. That is about a week's worth of running on this unit. One of the things that I can absolutely tell you is that within an hour of finally getting the foam to work, it was already turning brown. So this thing is an absolute workhorse, and as you can tell from what you're seeing inside there, boy, I'm glad that isn't circulating around in my tank. So basically, this is a pretty simple operation. On this side of the Reef Octopus, we have our water intake, which takes it into the system and moves it along, creates all of the foam, and when it gets done, it comes out on this side. Actually, I may actually have that reversed. It may actually come from this side through into the system and out either on this side. Either way, I'm extremely happy with the way it operates. This particular black piece of plastic and this white hose is our major air intake, and the black cup on the end of it is actually a silencer to help the unit run a little more quietly than it might. And so, give you a look at what it's doing here from the side. And so you can see the foam runs the whole length of the unit. And then there is that absolutely gross looking collection plate. And so I have to say, a couple of weeks into the operation here with the Reef Octopus, that I'm extremely pleased. One of the things that I do like about it is that the tubes only go into my tank just a little bit. So in terms of visibility in the tank, it's pretty low visibility. One of the heating rods, and the other one is over here. And so I've got them spread out as best I can. And then we have a line here and a line here that are connecting to the carbon reactor, which is underneath the tank, and I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. And then lastly, I have just a circulation power head just to get a little bit of motion in the tank. The next step for me will be to purchase a couple of new power heads so that I get the correct circulation that I want. And then in the very back, I have a temperature probe, a digital temperature probe. So that's pretty much it for the Reef Octopus. And my understanding is that this filtration choice should be enough for me to get started here with our reef tank. Now, let's move on to the carbon reactor. So on the top side, you can see there's a small little pump right there that is pulling water out of the tank, and it goes through that hose underneath into the carbon reactor itself, where the water is forced through some carbon, cleaned, and then it comes back into the system through this section here. And so I've tried to separate those as best I can so that I can get a little more circulation going on there. So let's take a look underneath the tank so that you can see what the carbon reactor itself looks like. Okay, so here is the carbon reactor, and so on the left side of the unit, that's the piece that is connected to the pump, and then to the right side, that's where the water or the flow goes out. This is actually a very simple unit. No electrical parts here at all other than the pump. And so the filtration system itself is basically just a canister full of about maybe 2 cups, a cup and a half of carbon. And then the water just is forced through that and in and back into the system. On the right here, I had just a little collection bucket just in case my Reef Octopus overflooded and threw some water on the floor. I had something down there, but fortunately that hasn't happened at all. I'm very pleased with the operation of the Reef Octopus, and the carbon reactor does an absolutely perfect job. This is from Bulk Reef Supply. It is their deluxe model. Only runs about 70 bucks, and so very economical in terms of all of the filtration that is needed. So that is basically all I'm running at this point, other than the live rock itself, and then of course the sand to cycle the tank. And so at this point, we're still fishless or other organisms we don't have in the tank other than the live sand. But for the most part, the tank is cycling at this point, and the hope is that within the next month or so, we can start introducing our first fish. So there's a look at the filtration that I have chosen, and if you have any other ideas or thoughts, please absolutely comment on this video on the bottom. I think there's a chance for you to add your comments. If you think I'm missing something or need something, let me know. But so far, from what I've been reading, this is really going to pretty much handle me for a while in terms of the filtration. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.